Hello and welcome to How to Win the Lottery, Season 21, Unadaptable, Book 3, Adaptable Number 2, Detransition, Baby by Torrey Peters. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Shreds.
I do like how much work the comma is doing in the title of this.
I don't understand the title at all, actually, to be honest.
I think it's like a series of events, like Ames detransitions, has a baby,
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And then it's also like a command, like detransition, baby.
Yeah, or just like...
But the baby is a baby, is a physical baby.
Or just detransition, baby.
Yeah.
Like... You say baby too. Whatever. Anyway, book number 3, Detransition Baby. This is a book. This is a rarity for the podcast.
Yeah.
This book has already been discussed on this podcast.
Right. Because when I read it 2 or 3 years ago or whatever, I talked about it. I think I called it the best book of that year.
You did a behind the paywall.
Yeah.
That nobody really heard.
Those were only like 5 minutes long, though, right? Me.
Some of them were, and then we did the John from Cincinnati minute, and we did like other things that became longer.
But like,
yeah, you're like stream of conscious of things with like 10 minutes.
Yeah, the things where I was
yeah.
just like ranting into my phone about whatever I'd read.
Yeah, just every once in a while you'd like send me a file, be like, okay, I just will listen to this and put this up. Okay, so yeah, so this has been covered before, but it was long enough ago that I did not remember. I just remembered that you liked it and vaguely what it was about, or that it was a trans story, but like not.
Well, also there's stuff in here that I just didn't remember.
Yeah.
Like and there's good reason, but like when I was reading the book, I was like, I don't remember what happens with the baby. I don't remember if they have the baby or not.
Well,
and then
you also
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like it could go either way at the end.
Which is a criticism that I have of this book. I want that answer.
You, the one who always does not need an ending, want an ending.
Yeah, but when I don't need an ending, it's not because I don't. It's because I think there is no answer. This doesn't answer something that it sets up a whole book having the responsibility to answer, I think.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
What is Detransition Baby about?
A woman named Katrina who is impregnated.
You start with her. Okay.
By a man named Ames. And Ames had previously lived his life as a woman, going by the name of Amy, had transitioned.
Yep.
Using testosterone blockers and estrogen into a woman named Amy. And then a series of events led Ames to detransition. And it's actually something that's interesting is kind of trying to figure out what pronouns to use when describing Ames/Amy, because...
Well, there's like at the very end of the book when he says, I think we're all trying to figure out what kind of women we are. It's like, okay, yeah, like that's...
Yeah, and also Ames says to Katrina, I'm going to help you raise this baby, but also I can't guarantee that I'm not going to transition back.
Right.
Like there might be a time when I want to live my life as a trans woman. So, and anyway, and then there's Reese, who is a trans woman who is Amy's former girlfriend. They live together as a lesbian couple. Reese had always wanted a child. And she and Amy had a particularly difficult breakup. But Ames, having impregnated Katrina, doesn't see how he could be a father given his relationship with gender. And
not biologically, but just like emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally. Yeah. And feels that he would be more comfortable in a queer parenting situation, bring Reese in, fulfill Reese's dreams of being a mother.
Give Katrina some more support.
And allow them to thrive as a non-traditional family, because each generation has to kind of redefine parenthood anyway. And we're blowing everything up and we're figuring it out. And this would be, Ames believes, would be the best solution for raising this child. Katrina is shockingly on board for this after some discussion. And then the story continues to trying to like untie the knot of gender in the nuclear family and sort of what it means to be a trans woman living in this world and what it means to have detransitioned and no longer necessarily be part of the trans culture, but still have that as an essential part of your being. And Katrina is in some ways, for people like me, a person that is not part of the trans culture at all, she is sort of our point of view character where like things can get explained to her so that as a reader,
right.
I have a way in.
But we never see the world through her eyes. Like there are two protagonists here and neither is Katrina.
Yeah. And a lot of times Katrina is like kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But also Ames is also an asshole and Reese is also an asshole. And Reese
seems especially difficult too, yeah.
There's something that I kept thinking about when I was reading this book. And I don't think this has anything to do with him being gay. Like the similarities, I don't think have anything to do with them also being part of the LGBTQ community. But I was thinking of the Brandon Taylor book that we read, Real Life, and the ways in which, as we read that book, it felt like almost every single conversation there was a definite edge to everything. Where every conversation felt like it could fall into some like brutal fight at any minute that would explode everything.
Yes.
And that's what this entire book felt like to me. Like every conversation between Katrina and Reese, every conversation between Reese and Amy, every conversation between Ames and Katrina, they all felt like you were 1 foot off the cliff, ready for someone to say something that would make everyone mad at everyone else.
Well, it also seems like a part of not the point of the narrative, but living as a trans woman is very difficult. Just in like the world does not make it easy, and like there like your life is fraught just by like having that as your reality, and so to then add in the normal stresses of like pregnancy and infidelity, or like even whatever kind of infidelity, like emotional or just not being truthful about who you were, who you are, or whatever. Or
well, we had that conversation a little bit yesterday about how and I don't want to step on anyone's emotions, like all is all valid, but like if I were Katrina and my partner had said, hey, listen, like I previously had transitioned into a woman and lived my life as a trans woman for so and so many years, and I've detransitioned and now I'm living as a man, I would be like, wow, what was that like? Tell me. And Katrina is like, what the fuck? How could you betray me like this? And I don't understand that as a reaction. No, it doesn't make sense.
I think she is set up as a character to come preloaded with some baggage that she had a divorce and had a miscarriage and like has heavy emotional stuff that she has entered this with. And also the emotional complexities of like, this is also my employee. And like, I think Torrey Peters does a lot to try to say, she's dealing with a lot, and maybe that's why she's reacting the way she is. But yes, you would probably, a more level-headed person would approach it with hopefully more empathy.
Yeah.
But also, I think a lot of her background is just like, there's stuff going on here that she's maybe reacting to other things.
Right. And also, it's possible that most of the world would react like Katrina because maybe most of the world, has a broader, more judgmental opinion of trans people. I don't know.
Well, also like toward the end, I said that there's another thing that she reacts to like really strongly, and she even admits like, oh, it was a little bit homophobic or whatever. But like toward the end of the book, when there is like sort of the lead up to the final big action, which is Reese's not quite suicide attempt, her Wim Hof method or whatever.
Yeah. Did you know about that Wim Hof guy?
No.
Okay.
But now I do.
Yeah.
But finding out that the man that Reese is having an affair with is the husband of one of Katrina's friends, I was like, this feels like she's a little bit overreacting, even though I understand why.
I would react the same.
But I still think it's like, you need drama in a book, that you can't have like people just be like, oh yeah, cool. Like, all right, like what's that about? Like that's a very different
But the
homophobic
part, Katrina's homophobic part there is that she's afraid of that Reese has been exposed to HIV, and that then her baby
the man
will
is
be
HIV
exposed
positive.
to HIV. And Reese's point is, no, he has undetectable levels, and I'm on PrEP. You're being homophobic right there, which is, I think, 100% accurate to the world, because I think, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, I think most straight people and people who live very apart from any sort of knowledge of HIV or even don't have know anyone in the gay community. Like, I think they don't even know what PrEP is.
I've heard of it, but I think this book, like, I did not know how, I don't want to say like handled it is, but like how it is, like, not only like you can live with it, but like it's just like you don't really have to worry. Like if you have take the precautions.
Yeah. So I think Katrina's reaction is more ignorant than it is homophobic, but I think ignorance also, like,
homophobia is
almost always born from ignorance. So.
But that whole HIV thing leads to, in like the first like 5 pages, is like revelation that you had that you shared with me that I don't want to steal from you about like what a condom means and like.
Oh, well, I mean, the whole book does this for me when I'm reading it, because it is sort of access to the thoughts of and I'm going to say access to the thoughts of a group of people, but also, like, obviously trans identity is not monolithic, and so what Torrey Peters is writing from Reese's perspective may be so specific to Reese that it doesn't travel that far outside of Reese. But there's a lot of things in there where, like, the condom is a symbol for femininity,
right?
Because men wear condoms to not get women pregnant, and so when trans women can't get pregnant, like, a man putting on a condom anyway is a symbol of their own femininity, because it signifies female,
right?
Because it signifies pregnancy. And then also, I mean, later on, there's stuff in this where it's like Reese getting hit is a symbol of femininity, because, like, men beat women, right? And so there is this degree of, like, being subjected to that specific type of oppression is a signal of femininity. Not that trans women are beat, whatever, but there is all sorts of identity stuff like that is that I never would have even come close to considering.
Well, and the other thing,
it's just not part of my life.
The other thing to keep in mind here, and we sort of had this, you pick up on in the end when in the email that Reese sends to Katrina, like, we were talking about like transgender versus transsexual, and like what seems like culturally, societally, like transgender is the appropriate, acceptable term now. The term used throughout the book is transsexual, because transgender. Do you want to? I don't remember exactly.
Well, she refers to it specifically as a term used to label a vector of disease, because I think the way that it's explained in the book, and someone smarter, more knowledgeable about this can correct me on this if they want. Transgender ended up being the umbrella term for the group of people that were, like, particularly high risk to HIV in the queer community,
right?
That had previously gone by 1,000 different names, like sissy, fairy,
crossdresser,
transvestite. So, like, in statistics, they needed to group all of those people together somehow, and so they used the word transgender. And so that's I think that's what Torrey Peters is throughout the book, having these characters use the word transsexual instead of transgender, because transgender is offensive to that idea.
And I do wonder how much of that is what the community believes versus what Torrey Peters believes, but also, like, I'm not here to pass judgment. It's just like we are reading one specific. I think to the same thing where you're talking about, like, the character of Reese and, like, what a condom means to her.
Yeah.
It's like, is this the term that, like, Torrey Peters finds acceptable, or like the entire community does, or what? I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's like,
yeah, I mean, I think that the idea is that this is giving, like, a trans voice, right? But it's not it's not. There's no monolith of trans community, right? Like any community, there are a million different perspectives and a million different arguments to be made about a million different things. But I think this is a valuable read to the broad public. Whether that, I think it's a valuable read probably for trans people, just for visibility reasons and for representation reasons. But it's an important read for the broader public, because I think it's easy to just not understand or even consider the complexities of gender identity when you've never had to consider your gender identity.
Well, there's even things like that are not, I don't want to say smaller or less meaningful, but like the idea of like trans gratitude, where they're talking about like endocrinologists, like changing their practice. Maybe it's for self-serving reasons or not, but like many people who like, hold on one second.
Yeah. We got cat issues going on. It's cat time.
Get down.
That's Joey's cat Dana, freaking out, jumping on stuff. You know how cats do. Are you gonna hold the cat like you're Dr. Evil?
Yeah. So the idea about transgratitude, which is like endocrinologists who are so used to a particular type of patient who is like seeking hormone therapy because like they are imbalanced and like angry or like they're whatever, finding this new class of patient or whatever where it's like, oh no, these people want my help because they want to find who they really are. And instead of like approaching these doctors from a place of anger or stress or whatever, it's just like, this is like optimism.
Yeah.
And so like, I never heard of the phrase transgratitude.
Yeah, me neither.
But like, so like things like that, which are again, not saying like lesser or less important or whatever, but it's like, it's a whole world of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah. Also like the idea of transmothering, which is something that I like hadn't considered because of, that's not a community thing in any community that I'm a part of. But this idea that, I guess in all communities there are mentors, but the idea of it taking on this specific feminine identity of the mother and like embracing all the nurturing aspects of what mothers do is really interesting and important. And you see even in the text, you see the different degrees to which trans women's mothering styles are different from each other to show again that it's such a broad community that there's no real monolith, although there are obviously similarities and similar experiences.
And there's also like more broadly about like motherhood in general, like the not comparison or metaphor, but like the whole elephant thing about these like rogue elephants, like murdering and raping and whatever, because like their mothers have been poached and now they had grown up without a mother, and like just showing like biologically and like naturally, whatever, the importance of having a mother. And hopefully in a long enough timeline, they will find partners and like have children that do not have their mothers poached, and like nature will heal itself. But like the world has, for any number of reasons, stripped them from their mothers. And again, the whole book about motherhood, like what this means, like something that's not even human, but still like shows the value of like what it means to have a supporting, loving environment, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. That sort of, there's a generational duty to correct course on that. And you can do that through being the mother that you didn't have or that you were denied. Yeah. And there's a beauty to that you really, at the end of the book, you really end up hoping for Reese. You really are rooting for Reese at the end, I think. Yeah. Right. You want her to achieve that motherhood that she's striving for, because you believe, or I believe that she is, even though I think Torrey Peters does an incredible job of humanizing her through flaws and through showing how badly she fucks up multiple times, you still, I think, get the sense by the end that she would be a really great mother, and has shown that through her mothering of other trans women, but also through how much she very clearly already loves her baby. Yeah. And that another thing, the thing that made me like really, really sad is when Katrina cuts Reese out, and Reese is she feels the loss of the baby as a miscarriage. Right. And I think it would be, this is the really sad part to me, is that I think that there is a whole group of people that when Reese identifies that as a miscarriage for her, identifies that as the loss of a baby, probably roll their eyes and think like, well, it's not really your baby. And like, that's the point of the book, right? That it is her baby. Right. And she loves this baby as a mother, even though it is a like non-traditional circumstance. We come to understand that that's true, and that's true for her, and she does love the baby. And that's why when the book ends, you have to believe that Katrina,
that they're going to have that baby,
that they're going to have that baby,
that she's not going to go,
and that Reese is going to get what you really want Reese to have.
Right.
And Katrina gets what she really wants to have. The only one who's kind of up in the air is Ames, because I don't.
Well, there's the least amount of conflict between the three main characters for the longest period of time in the book is like when Ames goes away, and it's just and just the two women going to like Bye Bye Baby and going to the Do Terror thing, and like just basically living as, for a temporary period, like a lesbian couple who like have a shared goal, which is like we want to love and raise this baby together. Yeah. And there's a third part of that like, but it seems for someone who seems to be maybe like the least dramatic of the three individually, contributes collectively the most drama to the three of them somehow.
Ames.
Just, yeah, like his, like Ames' presence to the group or whatever, or just what, because that also makes sense. Like Ames has the direct relationship with both of them in a way that they don't have with each other yet. And so Ames is bringing baggage both sides in a way that when Ames is not there, things are maybe just short term, whatever, a little bit easier, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the doTERRA thing, because that was the funniest part of the book to me. The part where the guy's like, and everyone says, I've got the nicest prick in town. And Reese immediately is like looking around the room, like, are we going to get this guy? Like, what? Like, let's fucking get him.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys, why are you guys laughing at that? We should, if this were a room of trans women, he would get booed out of the room.
Yeah.
We would be like ripping his face off right now.
Well, I think that's another thing the book does well. It's not just I would imagine, incorporating or introducing a lot of straight, like cis people to the trans culture, but also like how trans culture views cis culture, and also maybe learning from it too, like assuming one thing about a certain group of people and being like, oh, these women are actually like bearing their souls in a way that like I did not think was possible, or I did not think that they were going to, but also like these sexual puns or whatever, just like, oh no, like this is not okay. Like, why are you okay with this?
Well, because I think we've in like a pop culture way, certainly, I think we've actually come to elevate trans women to a place of wit, to like an almost Oscar Wilde-ish place of wit, because of things like RuPaul's Drag Race, where we expect like really sharp, observant comebacks and sort of brutal takedowns. And so because that's the pop culture version of it, we expect that from that culture, which I imagine if you're like a completely non-witty kind of dumb trans woman, you're just like, I can't fit into this. I'm not as
But also like what helps in that regard here is that both Reese, the character, and Torrey Peters, the writer, are both very funny.
Well, that's gotta, right. That's kind of how it works, right?
Like Ames is not particularly, especially like, I think like the Ames perspective stuff just sort of gives background. Like I think the Reese stuff is like, Reese can read the room in a way that is like very funny and very biting and very satirical, or just like when they're at the trans lady picnic and they're doing like, all right, let's play a game. Like, what are the 3 saddest things you can bring to the CVS clerk? It's just like, that's really funny as like an exercise and how that can go wrong. But that's also how Reese knows that Amy is like the one for her, because she's like, oh no, like a big thing, ice cream, like the saddest magazine and like whatever. Like, it's just like, oh no, like that's a particular breed of like fucked up that like, I think is fun.
The other joke that is that is funny but is like incredibly dark is the 4 funerals and a funeral joke.
Oh yeah, okay. I wrote down joke watch because that's my new segment on the show. The 4 funerals on a funeral and like the baby trans. I also like the idea of like baby trans, like newly transitioned people, and like how they're so sensitive and so like indignant or whatever, and be like, oh, how dare you say that? It's just like, no, like if you like at a certain point, like you have to laugh, otherwise.
I will say 4 funerals and a funeral. Not Torrey Peters' joke. That is well, no, it's she acknowledges it in the acknowledgments. Like says, this person gave me that joke. This is a joke that I stole from this person. Okay, so it's like one of her friends said it, and she just like put it in the book.
There's a part where it says somebody says, "Do you want to hear a joke?" And it's not like the Bret Easton Ellis, the coward, backing out and not telling the joke. It's more the Sarah Levine. Here's the joke.
Yeah, there's a joke. Yeah, this is a joke that has a punchline to it. We got cat problems. This cat's going crazy.
We tried an experiment. It didn't really work.
Tried an experiment, didn't work.
Well, it worked for a couple minutes, and then she got squirmy.
Yeah.
There's also something here that, again, I never thought about, and I'm sure is like one of the more obvious things if you like take time to like empathize. But a lot of the book seems to be about like a girlhood not had.
Yeah, keep going.
About like, so it comes in 2 different forms in here. Like there's the like, there's a chance I'm conflating this with Euphoria, because the most recent episode of Euphoria was a Jules centric episode. And so anyway, but there's a part where like somebody is admiring the skin and like pores. Mm-hmm. Is this from the book or is this from Euphoria?
I don't know.
And it'd be like, oh, you never went through puberty. Like you transit, like whatever. I think that might be Euphoria. Anyway, but in here, it's about like the experience that every young girl has with a mother, and like how Amy never had that, because when Amy was James and said like, oh mom, like this shirt itches, like, can I have one of your bras? And mom's like, No.
As far as like Amy as a high schooler as James, when they have you have to dress up like another student day.
Yes.
And he's like so mean to that girl.
Yep.
But he's so mean to that girl as a way of protecting himself
Right.
from the femininity that he so desperately wants to achieve. Like all he wants is to ask her how to do the makeup and have her put it on. But instead he ends up making fun of her boobs. And the girl is like, is that all I am to you? Like all.
And he wants to be like, no, like you're so much more, but
Yeah. Stuff.
But
as far as the girlhood lost thing, there's also the stuff about the figure skating and getting the girls Happy Meal and all sorts of things like that. And even the sort of the adolescent sex where James is having sex with Delia, I think her name is, or and
like the bulimic or whatever.
And but he's disassociating so that he can put enter like her point of view, and he's saying things out loud that he wishes that she were saying to him. If he were in the feminine, like supplicant position in that, like he wants to be called a dirty slut. So he calls her a dirty slut and that turns her on,
which turns him on.
And then, you have, like Reese later identifies that as the way that, crypto trans people have sex, because they have sex with other trans people, but like are still sort of maintaining their cis heterosexuality because they're denying to themselves that they want to be trans. So they are disassociating, and that makes for bad sex because they're disassociating. But straight women don't recognize that when people like James disassociate, but a trans woman will. And this is kind of what you're talking about, what you were talking about in the text thread, where you said like this book is surprisingly dense.
Yeah.
Because almost everything has this layer of like, let's think about it, but then let's think about it from this point of view, and then turn it around and think about how like it's all of these layers of coping and lying to yourself, and then people not understanding what you mean, and all of these different things, and you're meant to understand it on all these levels. And I think that seems like a very, very difficult thing to do narratively. And I think Torrey Peters, it's dense because it's complicated, but it's not complicated in a way that when you look at it, it's like, really complicated algebra on a board where you're like, I have no idea what these symbols mean. It's complicated in that one thing leads to another and you can put it all together, but it's just a ton of information. And she does as good a job as any human being possibly could, I think, of like untangling these knots and making it explicable to anyone that puts the effort in to read it. It's just that like there's a lot to think about.
And there's more of the book to talk about, but I want to specifically ask about that point. Like the reason we're reading this now is because this is being adapted into a movie. Like, will that at all work?
Well, this is when I was reading it, I was actually thinking, I don't think this is adaptable, because I think it's doing so much of the hard work of the book is telling. And I don't know how you put that on a screen. It's not visual work to me.
It's tough. I think you can probably, like, if you just, and I actually want to look up if Torrey Peters is involved, if she's writing the screenplay or not. But like, I think you can, like the beat by beat stuff you can show. But I think that, like you're saying, that there's so much like weight to it that it's like, how do you do this in a way that is not like exposition dumps?
Yeah, I mean, without all that information and without the untangling of those knots, I think you end up with kind of like a wacky romance.
On IMDb, Torrey Peters is credited as the writer.
Good.
So if anybody can adapt it, it would be her. But
yeah. And then my other worry is that you end up with too much voiceover,
which I don't think you can do like any of, really. Like you need to, but I think what works really well in the text, and I think could be adapted into it or could be like covered in the movie version, is the going back and forth in time, and each chapter specifically being like this many years or months before the conception, this many weeks after the conception, and not telling a linear narrative story. Like you have to be introduced to the characters now, and then like get like the way that she lays out how you like learn these characters' backstories, even within chapters, like flashbacks or whatever. Like we're talking about when Ames was in high school and the cool girl, like, the girl, like he has a crush on somebody, and
Oh, and he like leaps into the back.
Him, and he's just like, hey man, like just like sees a friend driving a convertible, just like stops. He jumps into the car with like 2 girls and drives off. And all of that girl's friends are just like, that was the coolest thing that you've seen. And like things like that where Ames is in pursuit in an Uber to find Reese cheating.
That's very cinematic.
And it's like that flashback within the flashback is like, that's so good.
And I also love that we found a way to cinematically and narratively use iPhones as like functional devices of dramatic storytelling. I think all that stuff works great. I think it's going to be impossible without voiceover to be like, okay, here's why the condom is hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that part is a lot more difficult.
Well, then again, maybe it is like a very meta breaking the fourth wall, like record scratch, which I don't really want, but
yeah, I not to compare it again to Euphoria, but that's what Euphoria does, right? Euphoria has like Rue jumps in and she's like, the thing about Jules is da 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 da,
and then we cut to a flashback. I wonder if they could do what. It's not Wolf of Wall Street. It's the other one with Margot Robbie in the bathtub.
Yeah. Big Short.
Where it just like cuts to like the movie stops when we cut to like RuPaul somewhere and like Rue explains like this part of trans culture or whatever.
Yeah, not RuPaul though. I mean, come on.
I don't know. I'm just saying like
yeah.
The most famous.
Yeah.
You know, because you're up RuPaul's drag show before. But like I wonder if that's like because like you need the background. Otherwise, it's like I don't know.
Yes, yeah. I mean that's the thing that I'm most curious about with a movie.
Did you know the Kettle One, Delta Airlines, and Hyundai are flagrantly gay brands? I did not.
No. Is that that's something that comes up in the
when they have their first meeting at the like when Katrina and Reese meet for the first time at that like gala for the GLAAD Awards or whatever, and we find out that the GLAAD Award like they don't actually help trans people, they just like fund themselves to like keep promoting.
Yeah, I feel like I knew that.
Right, but what I learned from there, other than just like it's funny like observational. You know, criticism of that culture or whatever, is they refer to Kettle One, Delta Airlines, and Hyundai as flagrantly gay brands. And I was like, okay, like maybe that just means that like they support like they actually take a stand.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
I was like, okay,
that means
sure, yeah.
I like that. I like that Werner Herzog and Mark Paul Gosselaar are both characters in this book.
Werner Herzog.
And both like acquit them. Neither of them are like. I wonder if this is maybe that's a job that like either Torrey Peters or one of Torrey Peters' friends or something had.
I would guess.
And was just like, and fucking Werner Herzog came in and let me tell you this story about Werner Herzog.
But also like whether it's a real story or it's just like the Mark Liner like specific, like it does feel like he would show up and be like, this is why I'm doing this. And like, it's, you know, this is how I view clothing and why clothing should be free and why I only accept free clothing or whatever. Yeah, like that's the celebrity to do it. Like whether that's real or not, it's like, yeah, that would be Werner Herzog.
I hope Herzog is in the movie as himself.
Would be great.
Yeah.
With Grogu.
Yeah, sure.
From his most famous acting role. Yeah, I forgot that I needed to do some prep for Spotify comment. I'm looking at my notes and I saw a thing that I don't remember, so we'll have to figure that out. Maybe we'll listen to it together on the air. I think it could work as an adaptation. It would be better though if Werner Herzog was in the movie as himself.
Yeah, or maybe you get Werner Herzog to do all the voiceovers explaining things. No, just kidding.
Never explain it.
That'd be insane.
Do you have other notes, other thoughts? I'm looking like there's a lot of things that I wrote down. I can also look through my things that I highlighted.
Just emotionally, I'm curious, like how you feel about this as well, I guess like genre wise, it's obviously not a it's not a romance, and it's not I wouldn't even go so far as to call it comedy. I guess it's just like a adult drama, but it is an adult drama in like kind of a traditional genre of like she's having a baby. Right. And,
I mean, there's very few like big life events that like it's like birth, death,
weddings,
marriage.
Yeah.
Kind of end of story.
And having a baby.
And divorce. Yeah.
So like among the, like, do you think it satisfies whatever ideas we have for the kind of movie or TV show about someone having a baby? Like, I think a lot about that movie, The Threesome, which you haven't seen that yet, have you?
No.
Okay.
I think it does. I think how do I say this without being like mean to like dumb people? Like, I think that like people coming to this movie for like a baby story might be disappointed, but I think that this is like an important story to tell. Is like not every baby story is the same baby story.
Yeah, not every mother story is the same mother story. Right. Not every father story.
Correct. And like even within that, like, you know, complicated pregnancies or like, you know, single parents or whatever, like there have been a lot of different kinds of those stories told, but this is like a new kind of story. And I think people just like, if they want like a rom-com or a rom-dram or whatever, I think they need to approach this with like a little bit more of an open mind. But I think it could be like, if done well, this could be a really good movie because it's a really good book.
Who were you, like, who did you project yourself into throughout the book? Or like, as Levin puts it, like, who's the face character?
Well, I thought it was interesting when I asked what the book was about and you led with Katrina, because like I did not, even as like a cis person, like I did not.
Yeah.
I did not relate to her. She feels
I didn't either.
She feels the most alien to me. I think what interested me about the way that this is written is that it feels like this is a book about Reese, like it's from Reese's perspective. And then all of a sudden, like the next, like the chapters 2 and 3 or whatever, it's about Ames. It's just like, oh, this is like a different story altogether. And the two different stories there. I think to me, the more main character is Reese. I think that would be, I think Reese would be the face character. I don't know if I
will say that I started with Katrina because the pregnancy is the inciting incident of the book. It's not because Katrina is the main character.
When you read it the first time, did you also with Katrina, or this time around knowing like what the book was more about? Like, you had, like, because I mean, because you had reread this, so like you knew.
But the first time I didn't have to describe it to any, like I didn't.
Oh! I thought you meant in terms of face character. You're talking about like literally in terms of describing the plot. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I started with Katrina.
Yes,
like when I began describing the plot, I started with Katrina because it was she's the inciting incident.
Yeah.
Probably it's interesting because I personally probably relate to Ames the most.
Okay.
Because
you love your boss.
Because I love my boss. No, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure how to put this. In terms of cultural closeness, Ames living as a cis man is probably most culturally close to my life. And so when I look at him, I think, okay, I could see myself in this circumstance, sort of. And I can also see these women making fun of me and thinking of me as being useless.
You do have a kink fetish, yes. And you have a lot of women in your life who are very mean to you.
I could see all that happening. But as far as like, I think the character that I empathize most with in the text and think like, oh, this is who the book is about and whose emotions are most important to me in the book, it is Reese.
Yeah.
Because Reese is the one who, I don't know, maybe get the sense has the most to lose or has been denied the most, or is the one that.
Well, I think Reese is on the outside looking in. And like, I think that's much of what the drama and the tension comes from, where it's like at a certain point, if whether Ames and Katrina stay together or not, Reese's inclusion as a mother, or just in the baby's life at all, is really not up to her. It's up to, at the very least, Katrina and maybe Katrina and Ames. And I feel like she has the most to lose because like she also kind of in a way has the most to gain.
Mm-hmm. And also her fuck ups are more relatable to me too, because like her fuck ups being like, I was cheating on, I was having an affair with this guy. He was cheating on his wife. And then I stumbled in and it ended up being my friend who like that guy's wife was my friend's friend.
Yeah.
That is so much more relatable to me than the idea of like Katrina getting super drunk and outing Ames to all of the business partners.
Right.
Like that's fucking insane. That feels like something that would never happen to me. I would never be that person. But you know, when Reese, even like the Wim Hof stuff at the end, where Reese is not trying to kill herself. Reese is following the Wim Hof method of getting rid of grief, and then everyone around her assumes that she's trying to kill herself. That is a relatable fuck up too.
Yeah.
I could understand that happening.
Yes.
Where it's just like, no, you guys don't understand. And they're all like, but you were so sad. But I wasn't trying to do anything like that. Like, that makes sense to me. All the stuff that Reese fucks up with, even cheating on Ames, which is super shitty. It's like, I understand why and how that stuff happens. Katrina's fuck ups make less sense to me.
Right.
And Ames seems like a non-factor in a lot of ways. So while I empathize, or while I like probably am culturally closest to Ames, although even that is like, you know,
I mean, Ames is living with, I don't want to say baggage as with the baggage of the word baggage, but like Ames is living with stuff that like 99.999% of other men do not live with.
Right. Yeah.
Like even trans men don't live with the baggage of like the detransition. You know what I mean? Like it's a different, they have a different kind of like experience and like weight that they are carrying.
For sure.
Like the specific, like I was unhappy, I found my peace, and then I undid that because like that was not for me, or like, or the society or whatever.
So I'll say also, I'm not just remembering this now, but this is also another moment of deep sadness in the book. Ames is confronting Reese and Stanley, and Ames essentially says in like a mask, like putting bass in oh, it's Amy at the time. Sorry. Amy is confronting Reese and Stanley, and Amy essentially like puts bass in her voice, like returning to a kind of masculine route that she hadn't been to in college, and essentially says like, come at me, bro. Mm-hmm. And that moment, the resurgence of that kind of masculinity in Amy is kind of a heartbreaking moment.
Yes. Like the fight or flight is so basic that
it returns to this protective shell of masculinity that we thought and she thought she had sort of successfully rid herself of.
And there's like the smaller versions of that where Amy is upset that she's like wearing a skirt or whatever because she can't have like the wide stance you need to have to fight, but also like there's the deeper thing where it's like, this is who I thought I was. I'm also still another person or whatever.
Yeah. I'll return to this because it's protective.
Right.
Even if that's not even a part of me anymore, I can still access that part.
Which is it scary? Is that scary? Or is it just sad?
It's sad to me. I don't know about scary. Maybe it's scary.
Hold on.
This cat is really causing problems.
I highlighted a lot of stuff. I don't think I'm going to go through my highlights though, because I don't think that there's a lot that I highlighted that was funny, a lot that was interesting, a lot that was just like eye-opening to me in a way that like I just never thought about things.
Yeah.
But it's a great book. Again, dense. Like it's 350 pages. You're like, oh, that's not that long, but it feels longer because there's so much complexity.
Right. I do think, for the what is like a simple-ish plot, I think it's a very dense book.
There's also a very funny thing. Like there's just like little things I'm just scrolling through now. The one thing I will read out is when Ames is thinking about before Ames transitions or before Amy starts taking estrogen.
Yeah.
Amy thinks, maybe I should freeze my sperm just in case.
Right.
And she calls the sperm bank. And the sperm bank is like, here's the rates. Like it's very like cut and dry. And the receptionist put him on hold to make an appointment. And as Vivaldi played, Ames pondered whether he ought to cancel his subscription to HBO in order to afford the sperm bank. He couldn't fully comprehend the enormous weight of fatherhood and generational lineage, but he could easily comprehend how much he did not want to cancel HBO. It's like, I might want to have kids, but I definitely don't want to not have HBO, which is just very funny to be like, okay, preserving future lines of generation or like access to succession. It's like,
Yeah, it's very
I know what one of those is, and like I want that, or I don't want to not have that. Just funny. Yeah. Anyway, anything else to say in this, or should we read the eggs?
Yeah, read egg.
We have we have an email address, lottery@cageclub.me. You can write in about any book, this or others, and we will read it on whatever we are covering that week. Meg's reaction to Detransition Baby. I really love this book, Egg writes. While I do like the non-ending more than I would have thought, parentheses, I don't think that this book could have ended any other way. I would have loved for there to be another 100 more pages of the minutia of the three of them raising a child.
Yeah.
Do you want that, or you just want like an answer?
I just want an answer.
As would be expected in a novel about trans women, there are a lot of interesting ways that pronouns are used. One example is when Amy/Ames's detransition is being discussed. Quote, When Amy detransitioned herself, she promised never to let anyone see her as she had seen William that night, never to pant for inclusion from trans women. Ames wanted no pity and rejected their disgust. But despite Ames's rigid need for dignity, for all the careful lines he drew to respect the differences in how he lived and how trans women lived, they called to him in a siren song. End quote. It was very interesting to me that Amy and Ames are given distinct pronouns, but then there's also the rub of Ames's birth name being James. It's the name itself that hints at Ames's trans journey, something that you wouldn't notice if they only totally focused on pronouns. If you're just totally focused on pronouns. Mm-hmm. The other passage I found interesting in regards to pronouns was, quote, Reese herself had always wanted to be a mother to a child, and yet it is only now that she realizes that without quite noticing, she wanted to be this mother to that child. Here the use of pronouns is extremely subtle, but shapes and finesses the meaning / plays around with the language in a way such that it is often discussed on this show.
Yeah.
I also thought when they were talking about the current baby in Katrina in relation to the previous miscarried baby being like a child versus your child.
Right.
Like if you miscarry, was that going to be your child or was it just a child that you lost? While reading the parts that were like, quote, sure, this looks misogynistic, but is actually / also gender affirming, I was reminded of the interview that Kerry Washington did when she was promoting Django Unchained. Okay, Egg, let's see where this goes. Essentially, she said that while being a woman in a tower waiting for a man may seem problematic, Black women typically haven't had those roles afforded to them. Yeah. It's myopic to think that one size fits all when you aren't part of the group that you're criticizing.
Yeah.
This also kind of relates to the topic of fetish, quote, chasers in the book. For Katrina, she finds it to be dehumanizing. In Reese's experience, the people fetishizing her gender identity are less likely to make her feel dehumanized. I don't have anything smart to say about that other than I find it interesting.
It is interesting.
I was telling Margaret about that, about like when she's like on these dating apps or websites that are like specifically like fuck a trans person. It's like, well, I'd rather do that because like they want to, as opposed to like finding a cute guy in OkCupid and like having to convince him like, no, like this is okay.
I also want to say a part that I found to be something that I hadn't thought about was when they're discussing the Laura Jane Grace memoir, which is titled Tranny. And Katrina
the singer of Against Me, right?
Yeah, Katrina points that out. And then she, as like a marketing person, is like, that's a terrible title because you have to imagine that a large percentage of the people who read that book are going to be trans people. And now you're going to have trans people reading a book titled that on the subway, drawing attention to themselves, bringing attention that they don't necessarily want to themselves. And I don't remember if it's Reese or Talia who like specifically notes like it's oftentimes millionaires who like want to be punk rock about things like that
because they're able to hide from the world's
when
perception
like most trans people just want to get on with their days.
Right. I think that's also not to the millionaire side of things, but like Katrina has a few moments like this where like she's here, for instance, and like all of a sudden she's got like this empathy and understanding like 2 or 3 layers down from where you think she was. Yeah,
when Joey said here, he put his hand way up in the air above his head.
And then I lowered it down a little bit.
And then he lowered it.
Yeah, thank you for...
Joey's a pro, but sometimes,
But I was talking to you. I'm not talking to the listener. I'm talking to you.
Well, okay, like another thing, this is not necessarily responsive to what Meg's writing, but something that I was thinking about throughout the book is something that I think about a lot. Which is, it's not necessarily specific to trans issues. It can be specific to any group of people that has felt the brunt of like societal meanness or whatever, or even systemic oppression. Is that a lot of the stuff that people make a big deal out of is not the issue that they care about the most necessarily. Mm-hmm. Like Reese not caring about the trans bathroom stuff or, just that I think she refers to the woman that gets offended by the joke at the funeral, refers to her as like a Twitter trans or something like that. And I think there are a lot of people in the world taking offense on behalf of other people in the world instead of listening to what those people actually have to say and letting them speak for themselves.
Sure.
And I think this book shows a lot of that a lot of how like that is again a non-monolithic culture, and different people are offended and think different things, and a lot of times the loudest voices are maybe the ones that should be least representative of a community. Right.
That's every community, really.
I think that is every community. Which is not to say that bathroom issues are not important or whatever, but it's just like that's a fascinating thing to me too.
Mm-hmm. And that's also just like another example, like in that specific case of like the dominoes, the fallout of like what Katrina hath wrought by like drunkenly bullying Ames and thinking that like, fuck this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of like the, you know, there will be like a CNN panel on abortion and it'll be like 6 men talking about it. It's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Why are you the ones talking about this issue? Get 7 women up on stage and have them talk it out.
The last thing, Egg writes, that I want to mention is the fact that the dedication to the book came at the very end. I like that it was to the end. It was at the end because as readers, you got the context of the dedication
for sure,
rather than seeing it at the very beginning and then forgetting about it by the time you understand the meaning of it. It felt more personal. All in all, a novel that did a great job at showing and not telling about a topic I was very unfamiliar with.
Well, I'll say,
baby.
Meg,
she did not put the comma baby there. I told her to put comma baby, but she did not.
Meg, you should have like said what the dedication was, because the dedication is to divorced women.
To divorced cis women who, like me, had to face starting their life over without either reinvesting in the illusions from the past or growing bitter about the future.
Yeah, and so there's, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful dedication, and I don't know if it's reaching hands across community or whatever, but like it shows that there are these shared experiences regardless of vast differences in identity. Mm-hmm. Or like that's a bad way to put it, because I think the point is that those identities don't, the differences actually aren't that vast between the identities. They're just something that we make seem vast.
Yes.
Anyway, I really love this book, and I'm sure that there are a million more things to say about it and a million smarter things to say about it by people that have more, are closer to that community. And so you should listen to, you should read Torrey Peters' other stuff, but also you should, listen to what trans people have to say.
Because Torrey Peters' other like big releases, like 3 short stories, 3 novellas or something, or 3
Stag Party. But then she has, I think, 2 novellas that she released for free, self-published beforehand in a pay what you want model, because she believed that big publishing didn't serve trans women. And now I think, at least partially because of Torrey Peters, that is changing. I think there is a larger voice for trans women in big publishing. I think Torrey Peters is a huge part of that. So also kudos, thank you to Torrey Peters for being an essential part of that voice getting heard.
For sure. I also want to, before we close up shop, we have a comment on Spotify on the Ducks Newburyport episode. So we have to go back all the way to the first season. And I think the username is Edge, maybe, says, what book is mentioned at 5528? So I'm going to play.
Is this a mean? So that's not a mean comment.
No. Oh, that was me at a really high speed trying to figure out some other thing that we've did. Yeah, it's a 3x speed. Okay, here we go.
And, by that same token, you see a lot of...
Oh, this is Honorable Judge Matt Early.
Stuff that looks like this, too, because...
I was like, that's not us.
That exact reason.
Yeah, it's trying to, like, imitate important art.
Matt, I will tell you that this book is unlike anything I've ever read before. It is unstoppable. I would not say unstoppable. Well, no, it's actually very stoppable. It's very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the best book you guys have read so far?
No, it's Owen Meany still.
I always assumed when I heard you guys mention the name of this book that that's a place.
So
is it a place?
So just a prayer for Owen Meany.
Yeah, a prayer for Owen Meany. Yeah.
I thought there was like a mystery here. They were like this is the best book, and it's like starring this guy named John or something.
No,
I didn't listen to it.
A prayer for Owen Meany is the answer to that book, sir.
Or ma'am.
Or ma'am.
Or whatever your pronoun is.
Yeah.
Keep reading.
Oh.
Boom.
Today's crime is digging a deep hole in Central Park.
Theme song.